Hi guys, my name is Ramiro Correa. I'm here to explore with you the role of marriage and family therapists, MFTs, in divorce-related legal and ethical procedures. This presentation will explore MFTs in the general divorce process, child custody evaluation, MFTs releasing or not releasing information when subpoenaed, AI-MFT Code of Ethics, and considerations on these themes. The central process of relationship changes involves redefining boundaries and renegotiating relationships. MFTs assist in deconstructing and reconstructing families. The general process of a divorce in New Jersey. Divorce preparation. Divorce is complex, stressful, and emotionally painful. MFTs will help make these transitions and changes much smoother. Nevertheless, both parts will need a sensitive, competent, experienced lawyer to answer all their legal questions, negotiate agreements, and help plan for their future. It all starts when one of the partners files for the divorce, serving the divorce papers to the other part. The discovery process will consist in gathering of all the documents and data that will be needed to determine equitable distribution and alimony and child custody. The best way of gathering this information for the discovery process will be for a spouse to ask each other or subpoena banks, subpoena investment agencies, or retirement asset companies. Also, they can go for depositions or sworn statements forms of individuals on relevant data. Grounds for divorce. New Jersey admits 10 different legal grounds for divorce, like adultery, desertion, and extreme cruelty. The most common is irreconcilable differences. For at least 6 months preceding the legal filing, the spouses were hopeless on how to resolve their problems. This is a much easier way to go because the burden of proof is significantly low for being a no-fault divorce, requiring no proof of wrongdoing. The divorce length. The proceedings can be concluded within a year, and child custody proceedings within 6 months. An uncontested divorce, where both parts completely agree in terms of the splitting of the assets and debts, can be finalized in one day. For that, they will need an attorney with a negotiation plan with reasonable positions that protect both of their best interests. Eligibility. With the exception of adultery, the New Jersey law states that the filing spouse needs to be living in New Jersey for 1 year. This 1 year requisite works as a cooling off buffer. Hiring an attorney. If the case is simple, your client does not need such an experienced attorney who will be more expensive. Nevertheless, your client will need an attorney he/she can trust and work with. The cost of the divorce. The consultation fee can go from $150 to $500 for the first consultation with an attorney. The second cost is the retainer, a down payment applied to the total fee at the end of the process. If the divorce process drags on longer than expected, the final cost may surpass the retainer, and it can go from $2,500 to $100,000, depending on the level of complexity of the case and on the spouse's net worth. As such, the spouses should have a previously defined strategy planning to cut costs. Types of divorce. No-fault divorce. It's the least painful and the quickest because the spouses do not allege any wrongdoing. They present irreconcilable differences and they agree in the terms of the divorce. Uncontested divorce. The spouses come to court for an agreement without any kind of legal fight. Nevertheless, one points out some wrongdoing to the other. Contested divorce. The spouses do not agree on the divorce terms. Example gracia, the division of debts and assets, and the child custody and support. There, usually at the settlement stage, they will find middle ground for agreement. Otherwise, you'll go for a trial where both sides will be listened to for their arguments and witnesses. And there's still room for appeal. Collaborative divorce. Diminish the level of formality and uncertainty. Both parts agree in negotiating the divorce terms in good faith. The divorce process stages in New Jersey. First, we have the consultation when one goes to an attorney, then the filing of a complaint, and then the other part answering to the complaint. Then the discovery process where they gather the data, the evidence, and then an early settlement panel hearing for the negotiating, hoping this will be conclusive. Otherwise, they will have to go for a trial where they present evidence, cross examine witnesses, and wait for a final decision. Serving the divorce papers. This is a job for a divorce attorney. It can be done with an email in New Jersey. In case the spouse is hard to locate, the attorney may move to a default judgment. If you served divorce papers, you should look for a qualified attorney and start gathering. Safety. In cases of domestic abuse, it may be a case for a temporary restraining order filing. Taxes. Your client should look to consult a tax specialist. Factors the court considers in the division of debts and assets are such as the married length of time, the standard of living, and the actual value of marital property and its taxes. Equitable distribution is the way the New Jersey courts use to divide the debts and the assets. They add up the value of two assets, and then the one who got the asset with more value will compensate the other part for it. The retirement assets count. The inheritance does not count, but its dividends do. Alimony, it's quite complicated in New Jersey. There's reimbursement alimony, permanent alimony, limited duration alimony, and rehabilitative alimony. The child custody laws in New Jersey prioritize providing minor children with frequent and continuing contact with both parents. We have a sole legal custody when one parent has absolute control on the life of that child. We also have the physical residence custody, more related with living arrangements. And we have the joint custody regime, where both parents are involved in the child's well being. For the child custody hearing, here are some factors that the New Jersey courts consider: an history of domestic violence or abuse, a parent's capacity to cooperate and negotiate decisions that affect the child, a child's age, the relationship and bonds and attachment with each parent, other siblings, and the prospective future of the child education. For the New Jersey child custody laws, the children always come first. If your client has shown a behavior and a lifestyle that supports the children's interests and development, their activities in school, knowing their teachers and coaches, then the probabilities of getting a reasonable child custody arrangement are very high. The New Jersey Child Support Guidelines facilitate the evaluation of each parent's child support obligations, considering the children's basic needs, health insurance, education, daycare, and the gross income of both parents. The child support payments are averaged out and kept an upward adjustment by 14.6% up till the child is 17. In New Jersey, there isn't a law with guidelines for an average child custody evaluation. only for extreme situations of abuse and domestic violence. The MFTs should guide themselves by the general license regulations and guidelines of their ethical codes. That was produced by the New Jersey Department of Children and Families called Guidelines for Expert Evaluations in Child Abuse and Neglect Proceedings. This document for more extreme situations can be used as a reference for MFTs in a more average custody evaluation. When mediation has not been successful, a mental health qualified professional is often called to conduct a child custody evaluation. That's when that document, the New Jersey Guidelines for Expert Evaluations in Child Abuse and Neglect Proceedings and Mental Health, can be helpful as a reference. Thus, these general New Jersey guidelines recommend that the custody evaluation addresses the physical safety of the child first, then the particular psychological, behavioral, and developmental needs of the child, parental competence, and the competencies of the experts evaluators is also considered. These general guidelines recommend that the evaluators must avoid multiple relationships to assure objectivity. For a child custody evaluation, these guidelines recommend a child evaluation of mental status, of developmental evaluation, of coping skills, psychosocial factors. Also, the same for a parental individual evaluation, background history, legal history, status examination, and the conjoint parent assessment. The New Jersey guidelines also recommend multiple methods of data gathering like medical reports, school reports, visitation, interviews, guardianship, complaint if filed. The purpose of the evaluation must be clear and the scope of the evaluation should match this purpose. In the most specific case of guardianship evaluations, the mental health clinician is required to be qualified to evaluate subjects such as the child growth and development, psychological testing, parent-child bonding, parenting skills, child-adult developmental and psychopathology, family functioning, child and family development, the divorce effects on the children, and the effect of multicultural factors. But the work of a MFT as a clinician goes way beyond forensic evaluations. When dealing with parents, the central task is to disentangle ongoing parental roles from the old marriage role and redefine the family identity, redefining boundaries, and renegotiating relationships. Since the divorce impacts all the family members so strongly, the role of the MFT is to enable the family to adapt to the long-term process of a divorce with its intense and complex emotions and facilitate their adaptation to the ongoing changes and daily adjustments. Also facilitate the co-parenting now that it's two households. Facilitate the renegotiation of intimacy and the power boundaries changes. We also expect from an MFT to help the family members overcome the negative feelings and replace them with constructive, healthy, solution oriented behavior, and to facilitate the adaptation to new concrete realities. Also, we expect them to be culturally competent. The MFT in parental alienation syndrome. In the role of an evaluator, you should keep it well documented. In the role of a therapist, explore reunification therapy, psychoeducation, and systemic reintegration. The AA-MFT Code of Ethics regarding MFT offers an article just for the separation of custody evaluation from therapy, meaning MFTs should not perform dual roles. In New Jersey, mental health clinicians don't have to respond to subpoenas issued by attorneys for litigation, unless a judge in his authority confirms this. The New Jersey Rule of Evidence 534, referred to as Unified Mental Health Service Patient Privilege, states that the communication between a mental health provider and the patient stays confidential. There is an exception if the patient is in court and is seeking to establish his/her competence. The AAMFT Code of Ethics recommends careful consideration of the responsibility towards the clients to respect their rights and the knowledge of the regulatory standards that guide this profession. Marriage and family therapists must consider the AAMFT Code of Ethics and applicable laws and regulations. If the AAMFT Code of Ethics prescribes a higher standard than the required by law, then this is the one that should be followed. The AAMFT Code of Ethics recommends that the MFTs pay close attention to the informed consent, to the confidentiality, to a clear disclosing of the limits of the confidentiality to their clients, also to have a strict respect for the client's autonomy in decision making. The AAMFT Code of Ethics calls for a written authorization to release client information. In a general situation, just a verbal authorization will not be enough. When consulting with other colleagues, the maximum of confidentiality should be kept. Also, MFTs should protect the electronic information, either in their communications or in the record keeping. I'd like to congratulate you for your sincere and kind attention to this presentation and express my special thanks for you kept it going besides my strong foreign Portuguese accent. Again, thank you so much for your kind attention.